Hey there, so today we have another review. This is a beer from Gigantic. This is the International. That's a fun name for a beer. The International Caramel Coffee Stout. Inspired by memories of blah, 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 European cafes. Oh, okay, cool. 7.2%, not a big beer. I believe this might be one of the last ones. Yes, I think I have a cider. And that's the last one from Portland. So a bunch of reviews. Nice to have some nice fresh beers to review and definitely give you guys some feedback. So fun time. That was really cool having those wonderful Portland beers. So let's dig into this guy. Beer is dark. Yeah, that's a very dark beer. I mean, that's pretty much like, I mean, this is almost Imperial Stout territory. Sort of like, yeah, I guess American Stout territory. But very richly black. Wonderful kind of like dark tan or medium to deep tan head. Wonderful retention on that. I have it nice and warmed up, so a little bit soy saucy. No can date. I mean, it doesn't look old. Like it doesn't seem like it's old. Like label's pretty fresh and all that. So, but the standard kind of roasty sweetness, coffee. That's the other thing, right? A little coffee sweetness, maybe some of the caramel sweetness, but definitely smells like almost like a European style beer in the sense that like the continental beers or at least stouts are like they have a different kind of roast profile, and then they're definitely hoppy. This has this kind of like European edge to it where it's like it's just even despite the caramel, like smells like it's gonna be drier, almost like lightly smoky. It's just like cheers. We'll see. Nice and warmed up. Yeah. Okay. So first off, this is a 7.2% beer, so not huge. Like it's not a pastry stout. I think like palate's just so out of whack these days where like you expect something with lactose and sludgy and super high kind of residual sweetness. This drinks like 7%. I mean, drinks somewhere around 6-7% stout. The adjuncts don't overpower. It's got a nice bitter edge to it. It's real, despite the caramel flavoring. I don't really taste too much of it. You get a little bit on the back end, but it really is a nice sweetener to balance out how roasty this beer is. In general, this is, yeah, I was correct on those. It tastes like almost like a European beer. It's got this like ashy and almost like a burnt character to it. Something that I find that some American beers tend to, well, no, they can be pretty burnt actually. Some of the American beers can be really intense with that. But I guess what I get here is the dryness. It's ashy, roasty, burnt, but also like dry too. So that's the surprising part. I don't know how old this was. But the coffee is not very forward. And it slightly tastes like, I mean, you guys probably know better than me. So if you guys seen this around, how fresh is it? But there's no bottle. They just have no date. They just have no date, right? Like there's no way. Looks like a fresh and clean bottle. Like, usually if you age something, like it has some kind of wear on it. Yeah, like the coffee doesn't seem to pop. It didn't really pop in the nose. It didn't really pop too much on the palate. But that should just be like the choice, to try to make it a little bit more subtle, the coffee, a little bit subtle, the caramel. In general, it's just a nice kind of dry, roasty, I guess like not quite American style because it's not hoppy. It sort of drinks like the closest thing I can think of is like Baltic Porter. It has a little bit of like this Baltic Porter edge to it because like it actually is like sort of dry and clean. And again, despite the adjuncts and the caramel, it doesn't really have too much extra going on. It really just it's a wonderful kind of like again, this tastes like a beer that was released 10 years ago. I would never guess that this was just like a new recipe, or not new recipe, but a recipe that still exists. A lot of beers like this just don't exist, right? Like they don't, nothing about this has like funness to it, exactly. Like I think people, when they walk into this beer, will probably expect tons of coffee. But, even thinking back something like KBS where, yeah, there's tons of coffee on that guy. And, probably beers today maybe have even more coffee. Or like more caramel, like just tastes like a, not in a boring, I mean, yeah, in the nicest way possible. It's a very boring beer. Like it's tasty, yeah. And if anything, for 7%, it honestly drinks like, it almost drinks thin, which again, I think that's what modern palates are up to. Like, I'm not saying that my palate hasn't like acclimated to that, where at 7%, I'd be like, oh yeah, where's the sweetness? Where's more body? Where's the coffee, right? Like, just, it's always more, more, more. And like, this really doesn't have that much. Medium mouthfeel. Yeah, medium mouthfeel. Yeah. Medium to medium plus at best. So, yeah. Good stuff. Let's go with a solid beer. Let's go with solid 88. 88. Yeah, the International doesn't like do anything crazy, but it's very tasty. So, wonderful drinkability. Really just a beer that like you don't really have to think too much about. And I like that. I like that sort of, it's a flashback beer and it's a beer that you can really enjoy, but don't have to do too much about it. Like, the hints of like dark fruit I'm getting now, like dried cherries and like dehydrated raisins, or like really shriveled up raisins. The coffee note, you know, is like a light to medium roast at best. The chocolate in here has got like at least the roast qualities from the malt gives it this kind of like milk chocolate kind of texture to it, along with the little bit of caramel. The beer is dried off dry, like a relatively bitter beer. Relatively dry beer. Hops are not too noticeable. Maybe a medium minus bitterness at best. So just a little bit of counteract the sweetness. Nothing specific, you know, nothing American about the hopping to it. Whereas, you know, American stouts is sometimes noticeable how hoppy the stouts are. Yeah, just like a lot of moderate to moderate minus kind of thing going on, right? So, cheers. Let me know what you've had from Gigantic. Unfortunately, yeah, the other bottle I had was no good. So this tastes fine, but you guys post the comments below. Is this supposed to be a coffee bomb? Because it is. Then I guess, you know, it is what it is, and this tastes like what it is. So 88. Cheers.